Have you ever wondered why some people remain so mobile and pain-free, even in old age, while others struggle with joint pain and stiffness? Every day, perhaps you've noticed that your knees are stiffer in the morning than they used to be, or that your hands sometimes hurt when you try to grab something. You may have noticed that getting up from your favorite chair has become more difficult, or that opening jam jars has suddenly become a real challenge. You may have tried various medications that help in the short term, but upset your stomach, or have other unpleasant side effects in the long run. I understand this very well, and you are by no means alone in these complaints. Millions of people over the age of 60 struggle with similar problems every day, and many feel that they simply have to accept this pain as an inevitable part of aging. But what if I told you that this is not true? What if there was a natural, gentle way to fight this inflammation without burdening your body with chemicals? Today I want to tell you a story that could change your life. It's the story of Ingrid, a 79-year-old woman who discovered a simple turmeric recipe that dramatically relieved her years of inflammatory pain in just 2 days. What Ingrid discovered is not a pharmaceutical industry secret or an expensive miracle cure, but an ancient home remedy that any of us can make in our own kitchen. In this video you'll learn the exact recipe Ingrid used, how to prepare it correctly, and why it's so powerful against inflammation. I'll also reveal 4 other proven natural remedies that can enhance its effects. The most surprising thing is that the most important ingredient isn't turmeric itself, but a small ingredient that increases its absorption by 2,000 times. Let's start with Ingrid's amazing story. Ingrid's ordeal and discovery. Ingrid had been an exceptionally active woman who was full of energy her entire life. As a young woman, she hiked in the mountains, later took long walks with her husband, and into her old age, she tended her magnificent garden, which was the pride of the entire neighborhood. Her hands were skilled and strong, and she could sew, knit, or work in the garden for hours without getting tired. Friends and family admired her vitality, and often asked, "Ingrid, how do you do it? You're tireless." At the age of 76, however, a gradual process began that completely changed her life, and turned her from the lively, independent woman she had always been into someone who struggled with pain every day. At first the changes were small and barely noticeable. Her fingers took a little longer to become flexible in the morning, and her knees cracked audibly when she got out of bed. That's normal with age, she thought, not wanting to make a fuss. After all, she had worked hard all her life, and stoically endured physical discomfort. But the discomfort did not remain harmless. Within a few months, the minor inconveniences developed into real pain that increasingly restricted her life. Her wrists hurt so much when opening jars that she sometimes had to ask her neighbors for help, a humiliating experience for a proud woman like Ingrid. Her shoulders had become so stiff that she could hardly lift her arms above her head. Getting dressed became a daily ordeal, especially fastening her bra clasp at the back. But the worst were her knees. Every step hurt, especially when climbing stairs, and walking in her beloved garden became a real ordeal. The woman who used to kneel for hours between her flower beds and weed could now barely bend over without grimacing in pain. Even simple household chores such as vacuuming or changing the bed sheets became exhausting tasks that left her completely exhausted. The nights became a nightmare. Ingrid, who used to sleep soundly, now woke up several times because the pain in her joints simply would not let her rest. She tossed and turned in bed, searching in vain for a position in which she could lie pain-free. In the morning, she felt worn out, tired, and exhausted before the day had even begun. Her longtime family doctor, Dr. Miller, whom she had known and trusted for over 20 years, diagnosed advanced arthritis in several joints after thorough examination. "Unfortunately, this is very common at your age, Mrs. Weber," he explained with the calm matter-of-factness she appreciated in him. "We will prescribe anti-inflammatory medication, which should relieve the pain." He gave her a prescription for strong painkillers and anti-inflammatory tablets. At first, these medications were a blessing. The pain did indeed subside, and Ingrid was able to function more or less normally again. She was relieved and grateful to finally regain some quality of life. However, after several months of regular use, she noticed disturbing side effects that caused her great concern. Her stomach began to rebel. She had constant heartburn. The burning sensation rose up into her throat and made eating a torture. After every meal, she felt unwell had a sour taste in her mouth, and sometimes even felt nauseous. She even lost some weight because she ate less out of fear of stomach pain and avoided certain foods altogether. Her normally healthy appetite had completely disappeared. When she told her doctor about these new problems, he nodded understandingly and prescribed her additional stomach tablets. Unfortunately, this is a known side effect, he explained. These tablets will protect your stomach. Ingrid left the doctor's office with another medication in her hand, but with a queasy feeling in her stomach. So I was taking pills for the pain and pills for the side effects of the pain pills, Ingrid told me later with a tired smile. And every day I asked myself, this can't be the solution. Am I going to spend the rest of my life like this? She felt trapped in a vicious circle of medication and side effects, dependent on pills to function reasonably well. Her quality of life had deteriorated dramatically. Despite the treatment, she was no longer the active, independent woman she had once been. Instead, she felt like a chronically ill person, living from one day to the next, and hoping that the pain would remain bearable. She began to avoid social activities because she never knew how she would feel. Life became gray and joyless. One day, her neighbor Elfriede visited her for their traditional coffee class. Elfriede was 82 years old, 3 years older than Ingrid, but she moved with an ease and agility that amazed Ingrid. While Ingrid struggled to get up from her chair and carefully planned every movement to avoid pain, Elfriede literally jumped up, moved quickly around the apartment, and even helped serve the cake. Elfriede, how do you do it? Ingrid finally asked, curious, and also a little envious. You're older than me, but you move like a 60-year-old. Don't you ever have joint pain? Do you take medication like I do? She pointed to the small collection of pill boxes that were now on her kitchen table. Elfriede smiled warmly and shook her head. No, my dear. I don't take any painkillers. I had bad arthritis a few years ago, almost as bad as you have now. But then my daughter-in-law gave me an old family recipe that her grandmother used to use. It's actually quite simple, but it has to be done right. Ingrid leaned forward with interest. A family recipe? What kind? She was open to anything that could help her feel better without having to take more medication. It's a special tea with turmeric, Elfriede explained, but not just turmeric and hot water, like many people do. It requires very specific ingredients, in the right combination, and it has to be drunk at the right time. She leaned closer to Ingrid. The most important thing is to add black pepper. Very few people know this. But without pepper, the body can't absorb the turmeric at all. Elfriede told Ingrid that she had been drinking this tea every morning for 3 years, and felt better than she had in years. My joints are flexible. I sleep through the night again, and I have so much more energy. My doctor can hardly believe it when he sees my blood test result. Ingrid was skeptical at first. She had to admit, a simple tea was supposed to help where expensive, doctor-prescribed medications had only limited effect. It sounded almost too good to be true, but she was desperate enough and had suffered enough to be willing to try anything that might help her. If it helped you, then I'll try it, she said determinedly. It can't get any worse. The next morning, armed with Elfriede's detailed instructions and a new hope in her heart, Ingrid began the turmeric recipe that would change her life. The powerful turmeric recipe, step by step, the recipe that changed Ingrid's life is surprisingly simple, but each ingredient has its own special meaning and must be used in the right way. Elfriede not only explained the recipe to Ingrid, but also why each ingredient is important and how it works in the body. Here are the exact instructions that have improved the lives of so many people. The first and most important ingredient is a heaped teaspoon of high-quality turmeric powder. Quality is crucial here. Don't use the cheap, pale powder from the supermarket, which has often been sitting on the shelves for months and has lost its effectiveness. Invest in organic turmeric powder that still has its intense golden yellow color and smells strongly of earth and spice. If possible, buy it from a health food store or organic shop where the quality is checked. The second, absolutely essential ingredient is a tiny pinch of freshly ground black pepper. This small amount of pepper, about as much as you can hold between your thumb and index finger, is the key to success. Pepper contains a compound called piperine, which increases the absorption of curcumin, the main active ingredient in turmeric, by an incredible. Without piperine, most turmeric would pass through your body unused, and be excreted by the kidneys, without exerting its healing effects. As the third ingredient, add half a teaspoon of high-quality coconut oil, or cold-pressed olive oil. This step is often overlooked, but it is also crucial. Curcumin is fat-soluble, which means it needs fat, as a transport medium, to be optimally absorbed by the body. The oil acts like a taxi, transporting the healing substances through the intestinal wall and into the bloodstream, where they can then reach the inflamed joint. Now pour a cup of hot, but not boiling, water over it. The ideal temperature is around 80 degrees Celsius. The water should be hot enough to dissolve the active ingredients, but not so hot that it destroys the sensitive compound. If you don't have a thermometer, simply let the boiling water cool for 2 to 3 minutes. Stir everything thoroughly. This mixture will not look particularly appetizing at first, as the oil will float on the surface, and the turmeric will not dissolve completely. This is normal, and no cause for concern. Leave the mixture to steep for 5 minutes to allow all the flavors to develop. Finally, you can add a teaspoon of high-quality honey. This not only serves to soften the slightly earthy and pungent taste, but honey itself has anti-inflammatory properties and enhances the effect of turmeric. Use raw, unprocessed honey from your local area if possible, as this still contains all the natural enzymes and antioxidants. The most important thing about timing, be sure to drink this healing tea on an empty stomach, at least 30 minutes before breakfast. Elfriede explained to Ingrid that the body is most receptive in the morning after the night's fast, allowing the active ingredients to be absorbed into the cells most effectively. If you've already eaten something, other nutrients compete with the curcumin for absorption, she explained. The preparation itself only takes a few minutes, but this routine becomes a healing ritual that starts the day on a positive note. Many people report that the conscious preparation and quiet drinking of the tea alone has a meditative, relaxing effect and starts the day with a positive, health-conscious attitude. Ingrid's amazing transformation day by day. Ingrid followed the recipe with the diligence of a woman who had finally regained hope. On the first day, she didn't notice anything particularly dramatic, just that the tea had an interesting spicy taste, not unpleasant, but distinctly different from anything she had drunk before. After drinking it, she felt somehow warmer from the inside, as if a gentle warmth was flowing through her body. Probably just my imagination, she thought skeptically, but she was determined to give the recipe a fair chance. On the second morning, however, something happened that completely surprised her, and at first she could hardly believe it. When Ingrid woke up and tried to swing her legs out of bed as usual, normally a painful process that took a lot of effort, she noticed that her usual morning stiffness was significantly less pronounced. Her knees didn't ache as much as usual, and she could move her fingers much more easily. The first steps in the morning, which were usually so painful, were bearable. This can't be, she muttered to herself, and moved her hands cautiously. Indeed, the feeling that her joints had rusted overnight was significantly weaker than usual. She could even clench her fingers into a fist without it hurting, something she hadn't been able to do for months. Over the course of the second day, the improvement became even more noticeable and impressive. Ingrid was able to open jars again, without pain, and without her wrists protesting. When she wanted to read her favorite book in the afternoon, she noticed that her shoulders felt much looser, and she could lift her arms without pain. For the first time in many months, she walked through her apartment without consciously avoiding pain. She no longer had to plan every step or support herself on furniture. On the evening of the second day, Ingrid was so excited and relieved that she immediately picked up the phone and called Elfriede. "Elfriede, I can hardly believe it, but it really works," she exclaimed, almost breathless. "Today, for the first time in 6 months, I didn't need a painkiller. Is that possible? Can it really happen so quickly?" Elfriede laughed warmly on the other end of the line. "My dear, it was the same for me. At first I thought it couldn't be true, but our bodies are amazing. When they get what they need, they can regenerate very quickly." After a week, Ingrid was like a new person. The transformation was so dramatic that even she sometimes couldn't believe what had happened. She was able to go back to her beloved garden and even do some light gardening, weeding, which she had missed so much, watering flowers, and even trimming small shrubs. The nighttime pain that had robbed her of sleep for months had almost completely disappeared. She slept through the night again, and woke up feeling refreshed instead of exhausted. Her energy levels rose noticeably, and this had a positive domino effect on all areas of her life. She felt motivated again to meet friends, go on short trips, and pursue hobbies she had given up. Her mood also improved significantly. The chronic pain had made her feel down, and sometimes even depressed, but now her natural cheerfulness was returning. What was remarkable, and almost unbelievable for Ingrid, was not only the rapid effect against the joint pain, but also that her stomach problems improved with the medication. Since she needed significantly less pain medication, sometimes she could go whole days without it. She was also able to reduce the dosage of her stomach tablets. Her appetite returned, the constant heartburn disappeared, and she began to enjoy her meals again. I felt like myself again for the first time in years, she told me later, with shining eyes. Not like a sick old woman dependent on pills, but like Ingrid, the woman I had always been. After a month of consistent use, Ingrid was virtually pain-free. She was able to take longer walks again, without her knees protesting, resume her hobbies, and had completely regained her zest for life. Her family doctor was amazed at the dramatic improvement during her next routine checkup, and strongly encouraged her to continue with the natural prescription as long as it worked so well. What impressed Ingrid most about her recovery was not only the physical improvement, but also the feeling of being in control of her body and her life again. She was no longer helplessly at the mercy of pain, or dependent on medication, with unpleasant side effects. She had found a natural, gentle solution that helped her body heal itself. The science behind turmeric. Why it really works. What Ingrid experienced is by no means a coincidence, a placebo effect, or pure imagination. Modern science has now comprehensively and unequivocally confirmed what traditional healers in India, China, and other cultures have known for over 4,000 years. Turmeric is one of the most powerful natural anti-inflammatories available to us. Research over the past few decades has shown that the effects of curcumin, the main active ingredient in turmeric, can in some cases be even stronger than those of synthetic anti-inflammatory drugs. The main active ingredient, curcumin, intervenes in the inflammatory cascade at several points simultaneously and blocks various inflammatory pathways in the body in a very elegant and natural way. Scientific studies have shown that curcumin can be just as effective as some prescription anti-inflammatory drugs, such as ibuprofen or diclofenac, but without their often serious side effects such as stomach ulcers, kidney damage, or cardiovascular problems. Particularly impressive is that curcumin inhibits the production of inflammatory messengers, such as TNF-alpha, interleukin-1 and interleukin-6, the very substances responsible for the excruciating pain, swelling, and restricted movement associated with arthritis and other inflammatory diseases. These messengers are like accelerants in our bodies. They intensify and prolong inflammatory responses, far beyond what is necessary or healthy. What is particularly fascinating to researchers is that curcumin not only alleviates symptoms, but also influences and possibly even reverses the underlying inflammatory process. It protects cartilage from further degradation by inhibiting the enzymes that destroy cartilage tissue. At the same time, it can promote the regeneration of joint tissue and stimulate the production of joint fluid, which improves mobility and prevents further damage. This explains why many people like Ingrid experience not only pain relief, but a real lasting improvement in their mobility. The cartilage can partially regenerate. The joints become more supple again, and the chronic inflammation that puts strain on the entire body subsides. The piperine in black pepper is absolutely essential in this process, and makes the decisive difference between success and failure. Curcumin is normally broken down very quickly by the liver and excreted via the kidneys before it can take effect. Its bioavailability is extremely low, which means that only a tiny fraction actually reaches the cells where healing is supposed to take place. Piperine, however, changes the game completely. It inhibits certain enzymes in the liver that are responsible for breaking down curcumin, dramatically extending the time the active ingredient remains active in the body. At the same time, it improves absorption in the intestines and transport through the blood-brain barrier. The result is a 2,000-fold increase in bioavailability, a difference that can mean the difference between success and failure of treatment. New research also shows that curcumin has effects far beyond the joints. It can reduce inflammation throughout the body, which is especially important for older people, as chronic low-grade inflammation can exacerbate many health problems in old age. It supports heart health, can improve brain function, and even strengthen the immune system. 4 more powerful natural remedies to enhance. While turmeric was at the heart of Ingrid's recovery, and often produces impressive results on its own, there are 4 other proven natural remedies that can enhance its anti-inflammatory effects and further improve overall well-being. These combinations have been known for centuries in various cultures and are now confirmed by modern research. Ginger is turmeric's closest relative, and a perfect complement. It contains gingerols and shogaols, bioactive compounds that inhibit inflammation in a similar way to curcumin, but work in slightly different ways. If you grate a small piece of fresh ginger into hot water every day, and drink it as a tea, or even better, add half a teaspoon of freshly grated ginger to your turmeric tea, the effects will be enhanced. Ginger is particularly effective against nausea and digestive problems, and can also relieve muscle pain. Omega-3 fatty acids from high-quality fish oil, or flaxseed oil, are another powerful weapon against inflammation. They work at the cellular level, and can significantly enhance the effects of turmeric. 1 tablespoon of high-quality flaxseed oil daily, preferably taken with a meal, or 2 to 3 capsules of a good fish oil can make a dramatic difference. The omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, are converted into anti-inflammatory substances called resolvins. They actively help the body to resolve inflammation. Green tea contains EGCG, epigallocatechin, gallate, a powerful antioxidant that reduces inflammation and protects the joints. Drinking 2 to 3 cups of high-quality green tea daily, preferably between meals, and not together with turmeric tea, supports your body in reducing inflammation in a different but complementary way. EGCG can also slow down cartilage destruction, and has additional positive effects on the cardiovascular system and brain function. Tart cherry juice, the juice of sour Montmorency cherries, is a lesser-known but very effective remedy for inflammation and joint pain. These special cherries contain natural compounds called anthocyanins, which act similarly to aspirin but are gentler on the stomach. A small glass, about 200 ml daily, preferably in the evening, can significantly reduce joint pain and even improve sleep quality, as cherries contain natural melatonin. Proper use and important information. As with all natural remedies, proper use is crucial for success and safety. The turmeric recipe should be used daily, ideally at the same time each morning to give the body a consistent rhythm. Consistency is much more important than occasional high doses. A steady, moderate level of the active ingredients in the blood is more effective than large fluctuations. The quality of the turmeric makes an enormous difference, often determining success or failure. Cheap turmeric powder from the supermarket is often old, has lost its effectiveness, and may even contain contaminants or additives. Invest in organic turmeric powder from a trusted supplier, or better yet, buy fresh turmeric roots and grate them yourself. Fresh turmeric is even more effective, keeps in the refrigerator for several weeks, and gives the tea a more intense, pleasant taste. Be patient with your body and have realistic expectations. While Ingrid noticed significant improvements after just 2 days, it can take 1 to 2 weeks for others to feel the full effect. Factors such as age, the severity of the inflammation, overall health, other medications, and even genetic differences influence the speed and intensity of healing. Don't be discouraged if the improvement is slower than hoped for. It is also very important to drink plenty of water. Turmeric can have a slightly dehydrating effect, and for optimal results, your body needs enough fluid to transport the active ingredients and eliminate waste products. At least 2 liters of water per day are recommended, especially in the first few weeks of use. If you are taking blood thinners, such as Marcumar, aspirin, or other anticoagulants, or if you suffer from gallstones, be sure to consult your doctor before use. Turmeric can affect blood clotting, and stimulate bile production, which in rare cases can be problematic. A responsible doctor will monitor your use and adjust the dosage, if necessary. Long-term strategies for lasting health. The turmeric recipe is a powerful tool, but it works best as part of a holistic approach to your health. Combine it with other anti-inflammatory foods, such as fatty fish, green leafy vegetables, berries, and nuts. At the same time, reduce pro-inflammatory foods, such as processed sugar, white flour, and excessive amounts of red meat. Gentle, regular exercise is also crucial for joint health. You don't have to go to the gym or do strenuous exercises. Daily walks, light stretching, or water aerobics can work wonders. Exercise keeps joints supple, strengthens muscles, and promotes blood circulation. Stress is an often overlooked factor in chronic inflammation. Chronic stress leads to the release of cortisol and other stress hormones that can promote inflammation. Relaxation techniques, such as meditation, deep breathing exercises, or simply taking regular breaks, can significantly enhance the effects of turmeric. Getting enough restful sleep is also crucial. Your body repairs and regenerates itself during sleep, and chronic sleep deprivation can increase inflammation. Make sure you go to bed at a regular time and have a quiet, dark sleeping environment. Remember, your body has worked for you for decades and deserves to be treated with respect, patience, and natural remedies. The turmeric recipe is a gift from nature, but it only unfolds its full power when it becomes part of a loving, mindful approach to self-care. I sincerely hope that Ingrid's story has inspired you, and that you will find the courage to do something for your own health. You deserve to be pain-free and mobile, regardless of your age. Sometimes the answer does not lie in expensive treatments or strong medications, but in the ancient wisdom of nature that has been available to us for thousands of years. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this important information and follow Ingrid's inspiring story. If this video has helped you, please share it with people who could also benefit from these natural healing methods. Stay healthy, stay active, and never forget that it's never too late to do something good for yourself. Your health is in your hands, and with the right knowledge, you can be the architect of your own well-being. Until the next video, I wish you less pain, more mobility, and a life full of vitality and joy.